We've all heard of heartworm disease, but let's be honest, we usually think of it as a dog thing, right? Well, today we're pulling back the curtain on a really misunderstood and frankly devastating threat to our cats. So let me ask you, just straight up, could your cat, the one curled up on your couch right now, be at risk for a fatal disease? One that's so often mistaken for something as common as asthma that it's missed until it's way too late? That is the unsettling question at the core of this explainer. Okay, take a look at this. This is the grim reality of feline heartworm disease. What you're seeing is a heart literally infested with these parasites. And here's the kicker. For cats, there is no cure, no approved treatment to get rid of them. Once they are in there, the damage is done. It's irreversible. So, where does this whole nightmare even start? Well, it begins with something we all know, that familiar buzz of a mosquito. And that's all it takes. Just one single bite from an infected mosquito, and this silent invasion kicks off inside your cat's body. The journey this parasite takes, it's pretty wild. These larvae, delivered by that mosquito bite, start migrating through the cat's tissues. They eventually make their way to the arteries in the lungs. And the moment they arrive, that's when the cat's own body just goes haywire, launching this incredibly violent inflammatory response. And that, right there, is the start of the real danger. All right, let's just bust the biggest myth right out of the gate. For years, maybe decades, the story has been, this is a dog disease. But thinking that our cats are somehow immune, that is a super dangerous and honestly a really common mistake. Just look at the difference here. It's black and white. Dogs are the natural host, so they can handle dozens of these worms, and the damage happens slowly, over time. But cats, they're what's called an atypical host. They usually only get one or two worms, but their body's reaction is so severe, so acute, that the damage is immediate. And the most important part, the part you absolutely cannot forget, there is no approved treatment for cats. None.
And this quote just nails the point perfectly. It doesn't take a whole swarm of these things. For a cat with its little body and tiny circulatory system, just one single worm can be enough to cause a fatal event. There is basically zero margin for error.
Okay, so let's move on to the next myth, because this is where it gets even more complicated. This isn't just about worms hanging out in the heart. For cats, the way this disease works is way more insidious. In fact, calling it heartworm disease is actually kind of misleading. What's really happening in cats is something called heartworm-associated respiratory disease, or HARD for short. And the key thing to understand here is that the real damage isn't from the adult worms, no. It's from the cat's own massive immune response to dying, immature worms in the lungs. That's what causes all the severe lung damage. And the symptoms of HARD, we're talking coughing, wheezing, trouble breathing, they look almost exactly like feline asthma or allergic bronchitis. And this is the tragedy, right? It's so easy for a vet to misdiagnose it, to treat the symptoms without ever realizing what the real underlying cause is. And this is where the tragic irony of it all just hits you. A cat's immune system is actually really good at killing off these heartworm larvae. It often results in what they call a self-cure. But, and this is the crazy part, that victory is the very thing that can be fatal. The death of those worms is what triggers the life-threatening inflammation of HARD. So in this unbelievably cruel twist, the cat's own cure becomes the disease. When you see a clinical picture of the damage right next to a photo of a cute, cuddly cat, it really brings it all home. This isn't some abstract veterinary problem in a textbook. It is a direct threat to the cats that we live with and that we love. And this might be the most terrifying part of this whole thing. For some cats, there are no warning signs at all. No coughing fits, no wheezing, nothing. The inflammatory reaction to a dying worm can be so sudden and so overwhelming that it causes immediate respiratory failure and death. It just leaves owners completely shocked and, heartbroken with no idea what just happened. Right about now, you're probably thinking, okay, but my cat never goes outside. He's totally safe. And I get it, but that idea, the indoor fortress, is one of the most common and, frankly, most dangerous myths out there. Just look at this number, 28%. Studies show that about 28%, that is nearly 1 out of every 3 cats diagnosed with heartworm, were considered by their owners to be indoor-only pets. Let that sink in. So how on earth does that happen? Well, mosquitoes are persistent. They are masters at finding a way inside our homes. As this quote says, it could be through a screen, an open door for just a second, attic soffits, even a bathroom vent. The bottom line is, no home is a perfectly sealed bubble. So, now that we've shattered all these myths, we're left with one really stark, inescapable truth. When you're dealing with a disease that's incredibly hard to diagnose, that has no cure, and that can kill even indoor cats without any warning, our entire focus has to change. Okay, let's make this absolutely crystal clear. There is no approved drug to kill adult heartworms in cats, period. The medicine that works for dogs, it's actually toxic to cats. It can kill that. So for our cats, treatment is just, it's not on the table. This chart really says it all. Look at this gap. Nearly 60% of dog owners are using a heartworm preventative, but for cats, it's less than 5%. That is a massive, dangerous gap in protection, and it's all fueled by the myths we just talked about. So after everything we've just gone over, the silent attack, the fact there's no cure, the risk to every single cat, even indoor ones, what is the one and only thing you can do to protect your cat? This is it. It's this simple. Prevent, prevent, and prevent some more. It's not just your best option, it is your only option. And here's the good news. Prevention is actually super simple and really effective. We're talking about a monthly topical treatment you put on their skin or a little chewable tablet. That's all. Just a simple, routine thing you get from your vet that can completely wipe out the risk of this horrible disease. So, I'm just going to leave you with this one final thought to mull over. Knowing what we know now, that one single mosquito bite can lead to an incurable disease for your cat, is skipping that simple monthly preventative really a risk you're willing to take?